Hi, I'm Courtney with FormFit, and I just wanted to introduce myself again, just in case you didn't watch the last video. I am a certified personal trainer who has worked specifically with women the past 15 years, and I work with them during pregnancy, post-pregnancy, perimenopause, and menopause, and I have a passion for posture. So I wanted to talk to you. If you happen to download the PDF, but you're like me and you're a visual learner where you really need to kind of see someone talk you through it, I wanted to be able to share this video with you so I could talk you through those steps. So what you need to think about when you're sitting is just sitting up, not leaning back into the couch. And I understand this is not something you're going to be able to do all day, every day, because it does get tiring, especially when our body is not used to doing it this way. So what you're going to do is I want you to think about, one, sitting up nice and tall. You're going to think about your shoulders directly over top of your hips. And you're going to try to get that pelvis into neutral. So you're going to press your sits bones into the seat. And then you're going to think about your pelvis zipping up towards your rib cage. So we don't want to think about pulling anything down, no rib gripping, which I mentioned in the previous video. I'll mention it again to you. But you want to think about zipping up from the pelvis to the rib cage and tucking that chin and lengthening through the back of your spine. So that is how you want to practice sitting. Again, not something you need to do all day, every day, but anytime you think about it, just actively think about it. Be like, okay, I need to kind of sit up tall, shoulders directly over top, hips, pelvis is neutral. Make sure my rib cage isn't flared, so I don't want to open it up too much, or grip, pulling it down, creating more of a belly pooch. Sitting here neutral, tuck that chin, think about lengthening up. So anytime we lengthen, if we lift our chin, then we disconnect from our pelvic floor. So tuck your chin, lengthen from the back of the neck, and you're going to feel immediately longer. So that is for sitting. And next, we're going to talk about standing. Now with standing, you're going to do pretty much the same thing, but we're going to make sure that everything is lined up with our ankles. So we are going to make sure that our hips are driving straight down over our ankles. A lot of us will kind of tip our hips forward, and your hip is going to be out in front of the ankle. We don't want that. That puts a lot of pressure on our belly, pushing it forward. You might deal with a lot of low back pain if you stand like this. So we're going to drive those hips back, hips going directly over top of your heels. You're going to press down with that big toe. And I recommend doing this like when you're standing in your kitchen, working on dishes, things like that, where you can really think about your positioning. Press down on that big toe, pulling that big toe back towards the heel. Your big toe has a lot to do with your pelvic floor. So you want to keep that active. It kind of goes all the way up through those inner thighs and up towards that pelvic floor. So that's the next thing. And then shoulders stacked over top of hips again, and then the ribs. So this is what I spoke about in the bonus video, but also I did not share a rib flare. So there are two things you might be doing with your ribs if you are not in neutral. One is opening those ribs up. And a lot of people, I see this with gymnasts, they'll kind of tilt their hips, so they lock out their knees, they tilt their hips, belly is opening up, creating more of a split in the abdominal wall. Their ribs are flared. So this creates more split abs, more low back pain, and issues like that. The other thing that I see is you could still be sinking and pushing forward, but then you try to correct yourself and you grip down with your ribs and you get this kind of slouched position. And this position pushes down on that belly, creating more of the belly pooch. That is something that I do. So I have to actively work on it so that I don't create a lot of this downward pressure, which pooches everything out. So play with that when you're at your kitchen sink, when you're cooking, when you're standing around doing things, try to get into this neutral position. And then the last thing is when you walk. So you're still thinking about all of these same things when you're walking. The problem is we don't want to look like a robot when we walk. So try to be as natural as possible. And the more you do it, the more natural it will become. But also pay attention to your push off. So when you are pushing off with that back foot, you want to think about squeezing, activating that glute before sweeping it through. So always concentrate on what's going on behind you. So my arms are going to swing back. My glute is going to squeeze, activate, and press through. So those are your posture tips. Instead of being in a PDF, they're here in a video. And hopefully that will help you get rid of that belly pooch.